What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and today I want to share with you an absolutely insane story. Now, the first thing that I got to say is, I run across all sorts of really crazy stories, and I like to share those stories with you guys. And a lot of the times, it's you guys bringing these stories to my attention, whether it's on Facebook through the After Prison Show fan page, or whether it's on Facebook.com/AfterPrison, where you guys are messaging me these stories. Sometimes you tweet them to me, sometimes you send them to me in emails, or sometimes I go about finding out about these stories the old-fashioned way, doing the work for myself, actually going out and looking for the craziest stories that I can bring to you guys. And I know one thought that probably comes to your mind as I mention that is, Joe, you is nothing but lazy. I'm really not. I try not to be at all. I do be looking for these stories, but sometimes you guys run across them first. The whole point of mentioning all of that, you're probably like, Joe, what? Just get to the point. The whole point of mentioning all of that is the way that I ran across this story first. And it's probably neither here nor there. But I was in the car, I was on the way back from Starbucks, and I heard about it on the radio. And when I heard this story on the radio, Danny was with me. This story is just nuts. This story is about a man that was sentenced to 50 years in prison. That's a life sentence. They ain't even got to say life. They say 50 years. They both mean the same thing. You're either never coming home or you ain't never coming home for a very, very long time. 50 years, that's pretty much life. But there was this man in Oregon who was sentenced to 50 years for some very, very bad charges. These are some of the worst type of charges you can imagine. Dealing with abuse, dealing with a minor. I'm going to need you guys to read between the lines. Disney Channel flow. You already know what it is. But he had some really bad charges, the worst type of charges that you never want to have, never want to get locked up for. Don't you never do nothing like this in your life. If you're contemplating, don't even rock with After Prison Show. Go watch something else. And I'm being for real. I ain't even trying to be funny. But the dude got 50 years for some bad charges. And he would end up getting that conviction overturned. All because of a dog. That's right. This man's conviction, a guy by the name of Joshua Horner, got his conviction overturned because of what I thought was Lassie. But it wasn't. It was actually a black lab named Lucy. I was pretty close. I first talked about this story on Kicking the Bobo, twitch.tv/AfterPrisonShow, and I was making all sorts of jokes. Lassie, what is it? Is Timmy hurt? This ain't nothing to joke about, but it's crazy to think, I was calling the dog Lassie. I didn't even know the dog's name. Dog's name was Lucy. I was pretty close. Now, you're probably wondering, how in the world did this man get his conviction overturned because of a dog? Did Lassie go to the prosecutor like, arr, 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 arr? He didn't do it? What kind of evidence you guys saying he didn't do it? I said I wasn't going to try and make any jokes, and I know those weren't even that good at jokes. Cringe AF is probably what that was. Nothing short of it. All right, let's go ahead and break the story down because this is something you need to know. If you ain't heard about this story, again, a need-to-know type of story. This is insane. Joshua Horner, a plumber from Oregon, got convicted of some really bad charges. And something else crazy to think about this is that he had just gotten convicted last year. He went to trial for these charges, and when he was found guilty and convicted, it was not a unanimous decision with the jury, meaning that not everybody believed that this dude did what he was accused of doing. Now, trying to explain a little bit of what this dude was accused of doing is going to be kind of tough. But he did some bad things to some young person and told that young person, if you say anything, I'm going to kill your dog. And then, supposedly, it was alleged this guy went as far as to actually kill the dog. Lucy, not Lassie. Supposedly, he shot the dog and killed it. These were the allegations that were presented against this guy during his trial. And he would end up being not unanimously convicted and then sent to prison for this. But it's just crazy for me to think that this just happened last year. And the reason I say that is because think about this. Think about how many people actually get a case overturned, get a conviction reversed, end up getting back into court for whatever it was that sent them to prison, and then end up getting released. In those cases, in most all cases that I've ever heard about dealing with something like that, these guys have been locked up for many, many years, sometimes even many decades. But luckily for this guy, that wouldn't be the case, and he would only have to spend 1 year in prison, though that's already way too much time to spend locked up for something that you didn't do. 1 day is too long to be locked up for something you didn't do. And this man spent a year before he was able to get the attention of the OIP. I believe that's what it's called, the Oregon Innocence Project. He actually wrote to these people while locked up, telling him all about his case. Hey, look, I didn't do it. I'm sure these type of places hear about this type of stuff all the time. I wonder how many people actually write to these type of places while locked up. And they know damn well they done did whatever it is they're sitting in prison for. They're probably just trying to shoot their shot. I'm going to write to these people and say, I ain't do it. I wonder how many times, maybe like how many times a year, places like this, these innocence projects, get letters from people who, they just dead to rights. They definitely did it, and they just trying to see, hey, maybe it'll work. Let me go ahead and try to shoot my shot. Let me see if I can get out. I bet you it's a lot more than you could probably imagine. But Joshua Horner would write to this OIP, the Oregon Innocence Project, telling them all about his case. And these people would actually get involved and try to help this guy out. And the main way that they went about trying to help this dude, and I guess he probably told them this, while writing to them, was saying, hey, look, go find Lucy the dog, the black lab. Go find the dog. I ain't do nothing to the dog. Now, if that is the case, if he did write to them saying, hey, look, you go find the dog, you go find the truth. If that was the case, I'm wondering why this wasn't brought up in court. Because if all it would have needed to be was just to prove that the dog was still alive, why this wasn't brought up in court? What lawyer did Joshua Horner have? Maybe they weren't trying to hear it. Maybe he did try to do this. Maybe they couldn't locate the dog. I don't know. I don't have every answer to all of the questions that I have in relation to this case, but I've got most of them. Now, it's mentioning all that I have right there, saying why wasn't the dog situation brought up in court, and then also saying maybe it was and maybe they couldn't locate the dog, that makes me believe that that probably was the case. He probably did try to bring up the fact in court saying, hey, look, I ain't do it. I ain't one of these 1 million people that write to these innocent projects every year saying I ain't do it. I really didn't do it. All you got to do is go find the dog. But they probably couldn't find the dog. And what leads me to believe that is because when the OIP got involved in this, they had a hell of a time trying to locate this dog. They were sent here, they were sent there, they got wind that the dog might be over there, they got word that the dog might be over here, and this dog weren't nowhere to be found until it was actually found. And where it was found was like 80 miles away from where it was first living at with this family, with whoever this victim was. I want to say this, but I'm not honestly sure. Look, I'm pretty sure that I read something saying that the family actually gave the dog away in an effort to help corroborate what this minor was alleging against this man, which is crazy. That's crazy because now you're actually getting involved in this and kind of implicating yourself. You're kind of aiding and abiding to some bad stuff right here. These allegations are made. This young person says, hey, this happened. And the dog was also killed in the process. But the family can see Lucy still running around. So they okay. Well, you told the people that the dog was killed by this man and the reason why the dog was killed. So we got to go ahead and give the dog away so that nobody thinks that you're lying. However, that is exactly what everybody began to think once Lucy was located. Because the story would go on to say that it is sometimes virtually impossible to counter an allegation, especially made by a young person, made by anybody. This is something crazy to think about. All it takes is somebody to say you did something. And if you ain't got no proof to prove otherwise, if you ain't got no alibi or any type of way to prove otherwise, sometimes that is all that is needed. That's some scary stuff to think about right there. But they say it's hard to counter these allegations unless you have some concrete evidence or proof proving to the contrary. And in this case, the fact that this dog was still alive was found 80 miles away and had been given away just in an effort to help corroborate what was being alleged. It's crazy for me to think that that was all they needed to poke holes in this allegation and then to get this conviction overturned. Because if you think about how easy it is to just say anybody did anything and that could get you sent away. The fact that they found this dog, the dog was still alive. Okay, you lied about the dog getting killed. Y'all gave the dog away. That's all we need. Y'all lied about everything. And I hate to play the devil's advocate here, but I'm going to. What if, this actually did still happen? You got to think about it. You got to think about the story from every possible angle here. The only thing they got is Lucy still being alive. That doesn't 100% guarantee that what was accused here. Y'all get where I'm trying to go with this? That's a little conspiracy theory in my mind right now. I'm feeling all sorts of different ways. I want to believe this man really didn't do what he was accused of doing. Because you know what? The courts certainly don't believe he did this anymore now that dog has been found to still be living. And his conviction was overturned and he has now been released. This man went from possibly never getting released, possibly having to deal with God only knows what in prison, most certainly probably the worst of the worst, especially considering the charge that he went to prison for. You got 50 years for this. You're probably never coming home. And you're probably going to be dealing with all sorts of wild stuff while locked up. And then a dog was the reason that conviction was overturned and you got released. Probably the craziest story. One of the, every story that I share with you, again, is I like to consider it the craziest of the crazy. But this right here, it's up there with all of them. I want every story to set the bar. And if it doesn't, I apologize for that. But this is one that I definitely had to share with you guys. And I think to myself, if this was all made up, if this minor alleged and just lied, blatantly lied, said this person did this for whatever, why? First of all, why would a young person lie about that? I'm not saying it ain't gonna happen, but why? Did you hate this man? Did you know this man? How did you know this man? Did he come and fix your drain or your sink, or maybe he didn't do a good enough job doing that? I'm not trying to really crack too many jokes because this is some serious stuff to think about. What would be the reason for a young person to lie about this? And then, whatever that reason is, if that be the case, then what exactly is the punishment for this? Because if you did absolutely make this up, and you done got this man sent away for 50 years, and luckily enough for him, he gets out after only 1 year, what's your punishment? Do you get locked up for this? Do you get any charges? I honestly don't know. And I'm asking all of you, do you know what happens in a case like this? Or what do you think should happen in a case like this? This story is really weird to me. And I've said this before, and this is going to be me attempting to make a joke here, but I've said this before. In another life, in a parallel universe sometime, I would have been a detective, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, superhero, police investigator. Because I like to believe that I can see through the Matrix. And this story, for some reason right now, there's a glitch in this Matrix. And I just can't put my finger on exactly why it is. I've got some questions that I really am having a hard time finding an answer for, or convincing myself of what the answer to it should be. And again, the main question is, why would somebody lie about this? I want to know what you guys think about this. And let's just go ahead and go with what we have as I wrap this up. A man was convicted of something he didn't do, allegedly, as the story says. I want to believe that that is the case. This man didn't do this. He was falsely accused, and he was freed because of this. Major shout out to this OIP, this Oregon Innocence Project, because it seems like they exhausted some resources and definitely put their foot to the grindstone when it comes to investigating and especially finding Lucy, this black lab dog. It was also reported in the story that when they showed up to try to interview the alleged victim, that, she ran. She didn't want to talk to nobody. She didn't show up for some court stuff. So who knows? It's a damn crazy story. And again, I want to know what all of you think about that. A man has a 50-year sentence, a life sentence, and gets that conviction overturned all because of a dog. Unbelievable. Lassie, you ain't have nothing on Lucy. I'll end it with that because that was strong. Bars. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about all of this craziness. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!